Let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're zooming in on the SASB standards for industrial machinery and goods. Specifically, we're tackling a massive headache for investors and analysts. How do you actually normalize raw sustainability data? If you've ever stared at a company's sustainability report and thought, okay, huge numbers, but how do I actually use these to compare against a competitor? Well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down how activity metrics are basically the mathematical key to solving that exact puzzle.
Real quick, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The data comparison problem. 2. What exactly are activity metrics? 3. Metric A, which is units produced. 4. Metric B, total headcount. And finally, 5. Normalizing for fair benchmarking.
Okay, part 1, the data comparison problem. So, put yourself in the shoes of an investor for a second. You're looking at the industrial machinery space, and I want to pose this critical question to you. How on earth do you accurately and fairly compare the energy use of some massive, global, heavy machinery manufacturer with a much smaller regional parts supplier? I mean, if you just look at their total energy consumption side by side, those numbers are going to be wildly different. It's totally apples and oranges.
The reality is, a massive global manufacturer is just naturally going to consume way more energy in absolute terms. They have more factories, more machines running 24/7, and they're building much larger products. Because of this massive scale of operations, raw quantitative data all by itself doesn't actually reveal true efficiency. Think about it. If Company X uses 50 times more energy than Company Y, but they produce 500 times more tractors, Company X is actually way more efficient. But raw data just completely hides that truth.
Moving into section 2, what are activity metrics? Well, the SASB standards, which, by the way, are now under the stewardship of the ISSB within the IFRS Foundation, are designed to help entities disclose risks that affect cash flows. And the beauty is, they built a structural mathematical tool right into the framework specifically to handle this exact scale problem. The secret sauce is this exact definition, pulled directly from page 4 of the source material. Activity metrics are metrics which quantify the scale of specific activities or operations by an entity and are intended for use in conjunction with other metrics to normalize data and facilitate comparison. Essentially, they're the vital denominator in your efficiency equation. All right, section 3, let's look at metric A, units produced. In the standard, you'll see this alphanumeric code RT-IG-000.A. This represents the primary activity metric for this industry, which is simply the number of units produced by product category. It's a hard, quantitative metric, and it's absolutely essential for grasping the physical scale of a company's manufacturing output over a reporting period. But here's the catch. A giant earth-moving tractor is vastly different from a tiny engine valve, right? So to make sure the data is actually accurate and comparable, the standard requires companies to break these units down into 3 minimum disclosure categories. We've got vehicles and agricultural or construction equipment, then engines and power generation equipment, and finally parts and components. This is brilliant because it stops companies from lumping massive energy-intensive machines into the same bucket as tiny, easy-to-produce parts, which would just totally skew your normalized data. Next up, section 4, metric B. Total headcounts. This brings us to our second activity metric, RTIGG00.B. This one requires reporting the total number of employees. Much like units produced, it's just a simple quantitative number on the surface, but it unlocks a tremendous amount of analytical power. The key takeaway here is that capturing this total workforce headcount gives us the crucial denominator we need to understand any metric tied directly to human capital. Industrial machinery manufacturing involves heavy lifting, moving equipment, electrical hazards. It's tough work. So when we look at workforce health and safety, knowing the exact scale of the workforce is literally the only way to know if a company's safety culture is genuinely improving or if they just have a shrinking headcount on the factory floor. All right, section 5, normalizing for fair benchmarking. This is where it all comes together. When you look at the official framework, you clearly see where these raw quantitative metrics sit. In the standards table, you have operational disclosures like energy management, measuring total energy consumed in gigajoules, and workforce health and safety, which looks at incident rates. Now, these are super important numbers, but standing alone, they're just raw absolute figures. They desperately need our activity metrics to actually tell the whole story. Let's contrast 2 figures. On one side, We have RTIG130A.1. This is a massive raw number representing total energy in gigajoules. So that's purchased electricity, direct fuel, heating, cooling, the whole shebang. On the other side, we have our activity metric, RTIG000.A, the number of units produced. Let's walk through an investor's data dashboard to see how this magic happens in practice. Step 1. Identify the absolute quantitative metric, total energy in gigajoules. Step 2. Divide that raw number by your activity metric, the units produced in that specific equipment category. Step 3. Boom. This yields a highly valuable, normalized energy intensity per product rate. Suddenly, you aren't just looking at who uses the most energy, you're looking at who builds a tractor using the absolute least amount of energy. That right there is a direct, actionable measure of operational efficiency and cost structure. And we can apply this exact same powerful logic to human capital and safety data. On one side, we take the raw data feeding into the total recordable incident rate, tracking injuries and illnesses. On the other side, we pair those raw incident counts with our headcount metric, the total number of employees. Going step by step again, by dividing the raw safety incident count by the total number of employees, our activity metric, it spits out a normalized safety rate per employee benchmark. This is a total game changer. It allows an analyst to objectively compare the safety culture of a massive multinational manufacturer right alongside a specialized parts supplier with maybe just a few hundred staff. Like the source document explicitly says right in its introduction, these metrics exist to normalize data and facilitate comparison. This mathematical normalization is the absolute key to benchmarking industry peers of vastly different sizes. It takes what could just be a bulky compliance report and transforms it into a really sharp competitive dashboard for investors. So I'll leave you with this to chew on the next time you're reviewing a sustainability report. Without normalization, are you actually comparing operational efficiency, or are you just measuring the sheer size of the company? Activity metrics are the essential lens you need to cut through all that noise and uncover true performance. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this helps you look at sustainability data in a whole new light.